Welcome to the Low and Slow podcast.
We're your girls, Crystal and Laken. If you press play today, trust, you made the right decision.
And know whenever you're listening to this, it's exactly the right time.
We invite you to pull up a seat to the conversation, get curious about your current perspective,
and lean in for the opportunity to see yourself in another woman's story.
We created That Girl Magic because we've been where you are.
Here, the talk is real and the breath is steady.
Let's get into your next mindset shift.
Welcome back to the Low and Slow podcast. It's your girls, Crystal and Laken, as always. And we've been doing a lot of yapping about the all or nothing mindset because it comes up so often and it's so prevalent. And you know that feeling like where things feel like they're finally clicking, you're consistent, you're showing up, and you got your routine on lock, and then somewhere in the back of your head, you know it's coming. You just don't know when. It's like
yeah, that waiting for the other shoe to drop type shit. Yes, right?
Yeah.
And then something happens, right? Or maybe nothing happens, or maybe it's like a random Tuesday and you're just in it, and somehow what felt once like so good and like I'm getting back, I'm getting to where I need to be. Now you're back in that pit or that spiral, and you're literally like looking around like, wait, how did I get back here again? I worked so hard to get out of this. Like, I was just doing so good. What the fuck happened?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so before we get into any of that, right, it's like the pit is not proof that something is wrong with you or that you keep creating your own disarray or like you're putting yourself in this position. Like it's not evidence that the work that you're doing isn't working. And I think that's what people cling on to a lot of, like, oh, what I'm doing isn't working for me. It's a pattern, right? It's a pattern that, has a shape, and shapes can be learned, and that's
Mine's
why
a triangle.
Yeah, it's important to see it for what it actually is.
Yeah. And, I think it's just even what you said of like, it doesn't mean that it's not actually working. Like, that's where like that disempowering language is like, well, that's the only reference point that we really have. But if anything, it proves that it is, because it's like, it's revisiting that pattern again to give you another opportunity to handle it different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to just be able to identify that this is actually the part that changes things. Like, it's almost good that we're revisiting this, because you can learn to see it coming, and not in the way of like anticipating that it's going to come, but that, okay, it comes. And when it does, I know what I need. Like, I'm not trying to stop it from happening. I'm not trying to not be ambushed by it. But when it does happen, it's like, I'm here. I know this. Let me give you what you need, girl. And let's get back on the train.
Yeah. So that's what today is about. So
yeah,
let's actually describe the thing, because I think most of us have a vague sense of the all or nothing cycle, but it doesn't necessarily help you keep it, help you see it coming or help you keep it in a clear visual. So I want to get really specific. So Phase 1 is where you're all in. You've got the plan, you've got the energy, the motivation feels really real. You're like, oh yes, I'm doing the thing, right? You're not faking it. This is genuine. You feel really good. You are logging the wins. You're thinking, this time is different.
Yeah, you're putting it all on the table. Like, you have nothing to lose. Like, come on, let's do it, right? And sometimes it's like, it might be different in some ways, right? Because something had to shift in order for you to say like, oh, okay, I'm doing something different here, right? But and this is where it's like, well, the nervous system's on board at first, right? It's like, well, this is what's creating momentum. This is what's allowing you to move, take action, as we've been saying.
Yeah. And then Phase 2 hits and something cracks, right? And it's not always like a big dramatic thing. Sometimes it's, it can just be a really hard week, or sometimes it's a bad night's sleep can really throw you off. Sometimes it's just like you had one of those days where you didn't do the thing that you said that you told yourself you were going to do. And so we start to chip away at that self-trust, and something in your brain said, well, that's over. It's not worth it anymore, right? Like, everybody has the burn it all down day.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. And this is where that that time where the burn it all down day happens, it gets sneaky because the nervous system reads that crack as confirmation, right? As confirmation of something actually you already believed in or maybe had a fear around, right? Or was anticipating. And so when people say all the time of like, I wish I was consistent, or like I'm struggling to be consistent, right? The consistency is never actually available to you.
Yeah, or is that like the story that you're telling yourself, right? They're like, oh, this is something that I struggle with or that I can't do. And it's not true. It feels true in those moments because we're logging all that evidence that supports it. And it feels true in a way that's almost like much more tangible because we want to see it.
Right. Right. It's like if we already believe this thing and then like before we even did phase 1, right? And then when phase 2 happens, it's like, well, wait, the very thing I was wanting wasn't even available because it was already reacting from a previous belief, and that my nervous system is just responding to that. And that's where it's like debunking these things. This is why with what we do, we take what's in your unconscious mind, bring it into your consciousness. And this is not a you thing. Like this is a thing that happens for everyone, but can we catch it? Like, can you catch it and decide to do something different with it?
Yeah. So then phase 3 is the pit. Right. So that's when you decide I'm out. I'm not logging my wins. Right. I'm not going to do the routine. I'm not doing shit. I don't want to do any of it. And this is the part where I think most people, obviously the problem is the most visible at this point, right? Because it's very clear that I'm not participating in the habits of my own design. But I actually think the pit is not where the cycle lives, but it is like the cycle lives in what happens in phase 2, right? But the crack is where the pattern is, not the failing, but the initial like crack itself. Like the pit is like when we feel like we failed. The crack is like the disruption, right? Because that's where the decision gets made, usually without you. And phase 2 usually happens pretty fast. Like it happens in a moment. And most of us never actually slowed down enough to see it. We're only available for the part that feels like the failure. And that's the part that we commiserate in.
Right. And let me touch back on the crack, right? In phase 2 is like, this is literally when we talk about the nervous system, it's physical, right? This is not a metaphor. The body is holding a story. It's keeping the score. This physical meat suit that we're in, the body or the story that's saying, hey, this is the part where it all falls apart, right? The body starts to prepare for that. So it's like from phase 1 to phase 2, you're already in prep mode, right? And then that's way before the brain has ever been able to make a decision. And then you get to phase 3 and it's like Laken said, now it's where we get to decide, right? And we decide to do something different. That decision is now more intentional because it's not being decided for you before the brain does. Mm-hmm. If that makes sense. If you're saying, like, if you're hanging with me, basically, like, now this is you deciding. Before, it was already previously decided for you.
Yeah. And, you might feel a little bit defensive around this. Like, I know this cycle. I've been in therapy. I've read all the books. Like, this isn't new.
I've read The Body Keeps the Score. I know that it's true.
And that's all great. And knowing the cycle and being able to see it in real time are two completely different things, right? Like there's a lot of things that we know about that we don't directly apply or integrate into our own lifestyles. And so if you've got the first part, that's awesome. That's not nothing. That's actually a lot. But the second skill is what we're going to talk about building today, because that's where we can shift it.
All right. So I want to talk about something that I think gets missed in most of these conversations about the all or nothing cycle. And it's this, that all or nothing, or that all in version of you that is, gung ho about what you're deciding. It's genuinely hard to sustain, not because you're weak, not because you're not consistent, but it's because of the way that the nervous system is actually wired.
So let's break this down for all the ladies that are rolling their eyes in the back of the room. And they're like, oh yeah, it's all about the nervous system. Let's go into that.
Yeah, fair. And I mean, it's fair, right? Your bullshit meter's going off, as you say, right? And here's the thing, like when you go all in, your nervous system is operating at a high level of activation. There's urgency, there's drive, right? There's that feeling of momentum that's almost like electric coming out of your fingertips, like electricity, right? And your nervous system can hold that for a while. Right? Think about like when you're running, like you start running, you have that runner's high, and then eventually it's like mile 10, and you're like, oh my God, right?
Yeah.
It's like
With anything that's novel and sexy at first, it's like, ooh, exciting. And then it's like, oh, for how long?
Right. So it's not this resting state. It requires effort to sustain that. And that effort state has a ceiling.
Yeah. So when we experience that crash, the crash isn't your willpower failing you, right? It's just that's what your ceiling is.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we can look at it in that way, it's a ceiling. It is not, I'm not good enough or anything like that, right? Like it's just a ceiling. It's not even a phrase. It's a measurement, right? Like the body has to come down from that level of activation. This is what we talk about, the highs and the lows, right? The ebbs and flows. This is not optional. Like this is actually physiology. And the problem is when we interpret the come down as quitting, right? And quitting or failure, right, has stories attached to it, which is why we ask you, like, when's the first time you felt that way, right? Because like the come down is the part that when that happens, a lot of times in the come down, there's no integration of what is being revealed in the come down.
Yeah. And what is the story that's usually attached to it?
Right. And well, the story is that I always do this. See, this is all I'm collecting the bad evidence, right? I'm not a consistent person. The story is I knew it. It was too good to be true. It was too good to last, right? It was just like, I know this before, right? And the second story that activates the nervous system goes, well, right. We're just in the familiar place. Like we've been here before, and it starts organizing things around that. Like it starts to function from that place.
Yeah. And so you're not just like tired, right? Because so many people will say, I just feel tired all the time, or this feels overwhelming. Like you're operating from a different story than the one that you were in 3 days ago.
Facts. Right. And, this is where logic is not reaching your body, the place where it needs to go. Like Melissa said something last week that really stuck out to me of like, we are constantly trying to solve feeling problems with thinking solutions. And this is exactly that, right? Intellectually, that one missed day that you miss doesn't erase everything. But if the nervous system has already organized this idea around this, that like, hey, this is where it falls apart, then the knowledge doesn't land actually where it needs to, because the nervous system is already decided for you. Your body has spoken, and 9 times out of 10, you don't like what it's saying.
Yeah. And so this creates a really specific kind of frustration because, you're not delusional. You can say the right thing out loud. You can't convince yourself of it. You can't make yourself believe it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like rationally, I know, but there's just this part of me, right? This part of me that's the part that we're talking to right now, because we get it. Like, yeah, we've all experienced this too. Like, can we validate that for a moment, that it's like, this is a part of everyone. And, everyone has a choice to deal with this certain part, right? The all-in version of you is not sustainable. Not because you're weak, not because effort, not because your efforts don't matter, but because your effort states have a ceiling, and the ceilings, the measurements of like what is the high and the low, kind of like an EKG, like they're not character flaws. They're not an attack on your identity. They don't mean anything about you. Okay, so here's what I want to offer. They don't mean anything about you. And I want to say this carefully and lovingly and intentionally, because I don't want this to land as an excuse, It's not about an excuse here. The nervous system is coming down from a high. And, even as we're talking about this, it's not to bring up drugs, but it's like there's a peak, right? And then there's something that drops here. It's like in anything or any level of excitement, right? Excitement is kind of like a drug, right? Or like a sugar high, right? The nervous system's coming down from that high activation state. And that is not the same thing as giving up, right? This is a signal, and that signal is asking to be read. Like, can it be read?
Yeah. And this brings us back to like the pattern having a shape. So learning how to read your own warning signals is really, really important. Here's where we get into the part that a lot of people want to avoid, because this is the actual work. So
AKA your feelings.
Yeah, I don't want to just describe the cycle itself. I want to give you something that you can ideally use and apply in real time. And what I want to give you is this: your pattern has a specific warning sign, and they are yours, and they are not generic. It is specific to you.
Yeah. And this is so important because most of us, if we've done like any personal development work, we know the general signs of burnout, right? The general signs of a crash. But these generic signs are easy also to rationalize away.
Yeah, you can tell yourself it's not that bad. We override this stuff all the time. You can tell yourself that you're just tired, or that
just because my period, or just, I had a lot going on last week, or, busy season. It's not going to be like this forever.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is like, in being able to say that, right, is like, is that your specific sign? Like, what's your measurement, right? And I think it's like, even when we're co-regulating or coexisting with others, where it's like, you and I experience this, where it's like we have very different measures of what is our signal, right? And it's like, sometimes it's like, can you understand yours first? And then when you understand yours, even just being around someone who has a different one than you, are you still measuring from what yours is, right? And that's like your specific sign. That's what's normally harder to argue with.
Yeah. So something to actually sit with and reflect on is, what is the specific thing that happens right before you go into the pit? Now, it's important to emphasize before, right? Not the thing that looks like the cause that we want to point our finger at, but the thing that in retrospect was always there first as that signal.
Yeah. And for some people, maybe it's a thought, right? Was this all for nothing? Right? Like that pondering question that just won't leave your mind, like, or maybe it's like a statement of like, I should have never done this, right? That's the signal. It's not the answer. It's the question, or it's the repeating statement.
And for some people, it's a behavior. Like they stop tracking, or stop logging, or, they go quiet in spaces where they used to be loud. Like they kind of shut down a little bit. Like the silence can be a warning sign too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for some people, it's physical, right? Their sleep changes, their food choices change, right? There's a kind of like flatness and like dullness that happens, and it like settles in right before the crash.
Yeah. And the reason it's important to find your specific sign, not the category, the specific sign, is because you cannot intervene on something that you haven't named or that you haven't identified for yourself. So the pattern has to be visible before you can interrupt it.
Yeah. And meeting it doesn't mean also stopping it, right? Like that's what we want to be clear about. Like meaning it does not mean like I'm bracing for impact to like avoid it. It's sometimes you're going to see the warning sign and still go into that pit. That's actually going to happen. And the win isn't avoiding the pit. Right? The win is actually being conscious of it. It's actually using your rear view mirror and your side mirrors and saying like, oh, okay, I know that's coming, right? Instead of being blindsided by it. And it's like, God, if I could just start to celebrate myself all the times where maybe I was back in a pit and my new measurement is like, I'm starting to catch them earlier, right? I'm sitting with myself through them and they're uncomfortable. Or maybe the next time I was in one, I'm asking for support, right? It's like, the win gets to be consciously dealing with the pit rather than being blindsided.
Yeah. And there is an in between, and that's important. And I think it gets a bad reputation. It's, people will call it a plateau,
Mm.
or it's a thing that feels like stagnation, or it's a part of the cycle between the all in and then the pit where nothing really dramatic is happening. So that's why it feels that way. And our brains are really bad at assigning value to that. We discard it.
Yeah, like in being steady, like in probably the boring shit, and probably in the actual consistency that you're
Mm-hmm.
wanting, right? Yeah, because we're wired for peaks, like the high activation feels like it's evidence of progress. Even when we talk about celebrating the wins, right? There's the wins, like a win and a challenge. I know we ask our clients that all the time. If we are only focused on like, oh, okay, all of these highs are going to be the measurements of I'm actually doing the thing, I'm actually progressing, then the low activation feels like, well, nothing's happening. But no, it's in the steadiness, it's in the momentum, it's in the, maybe the boring shit that it's like, that is also evidence too.
Yeah, and that's what we see over and over again, is that the in between is not nothing. The in between is actually should be the destination, because the version of you that can live there between burned out and having to start over again, that's the version of you that's actually consistent. That's the version of you that's generating the evidence that you're looking for, that aligns with the story that you want for yourself, that's aligned with the identity that you're looking to embody.
That's the place that your nervous system is in a regulated state. Right? It's not flat. It's not bored. Like it's regulated. And there's a difference with that. Like regulation doesn't mean that nothing's happening. It means that you're not running on a threat or you're not reactive, right? You have some left in the tank, in the chamber. You have a floor, right?
Yeah,
It's like if you have a ceiling, you got to have the floor too.
yeah, and the floor is the version of you on your worst day, right? And what does your floor look like right now? Like, not your ceiling,
Damn.
not the best version. We're always aspiring to like the best version of ourselves, but we don't take the time to identify, okay, what does the floor look like? What can I do any day, even if it's the worst day, the thing that you will actually do, even in spite of the days where everything feels hard.
I'm like, I'm having an idea right now in this moment. And I'm like, if you're listening to this, like, can you identify just today the high and the low? Like, what's your ceiling? What's your floor? And like, we need to make an activity out of this. I'm going to do that. This is just a note for me for later, but I love that. I love that, right? If we're going to give ourselves a ceiling, we have to have the floor, because that's what's sustainable, right? Not the all in version, not the worst, not even the worst version, right? You don't have to operate in one or the other. And it's that embarrassingly small rep or action step that you will actually do when you're fucking exhausted on a Wednesday and you don't care about anything else. It's like, it's that right there.
Yeah, and it might not be where you want to be, and that's okay, because it's what's available to you right now, and that's what really counts. It counts in the way that the all or nothing version of you like never will, right? Because you can build on it. It is accessible to you, and it feels real and tangible, and not something that's like aspirational.
Yeah. Yeah. The all in version of you is the ceiling that you can visit. The floor is somewhere that you can actually live.
Yeah,
Right.
and
And
if
it's,
you've spent years in this cycle, in the in between is going to feel really wrong at first. It's going to feel like, it reminds me of there's all these I don't know, like informational or inspirational content around relationships, and it's like, oh, if you've spent so many times in relationships where you have correlated excitement with love, right? Because essentially your nervous system is just jacked up, and that's what you're looking for, right? Because that's all you've known. And then when you get into a relationship where your nervous system actually feels calm and stable, and you're like, this is boring. I don't want to stay here, right? It's like that discomfort is not a signal to go harder. It's like it's a signal that your nervous system hasn't learned yet that this is what's safe, this is what's sustainable, and you can actually thrive here.
mm-hmm. Yeah. Gosh, that's so good. T. Gosh. And the thing is about the nervous system is that That little thing is smart, okay? The one main job it has is to protect us. And if it can learn to protect us, it can also learn slowly a new way of doing things, but we have to teach it, right? And that's the whole name of the game, is like teaching our nervous system what it looks like for the ceiling, what it looks like for the low, teaching our nervous system what we need, right? And allowing it to have the mic for a second, because if we've just been disregarding our nervous system, yeah, it is going to run the show until we decide I'm running the show.
Yeah. Yeah. The floor is the version of you on your worst day, but you can build from there, right? You can't build from a ceiling because you're already at the top, and that's not sustainable to do it long term. So here's what we want you to take away from today. The all or nothing cycle is not something that is irrational or not normal or something that is, a flaw. It's a pattern. It has a shape, and you've just started learning that shape, and that's okay, right? That's actually the beginning of something that is really good that you can build upon.
Yeah. And I want to add, if you're listening to this right now and you're listening from the pit, that's okay. We have all been there. We are all going to be there, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And you don't have to be in it to get you don't have to not be in the pit to get something from this conversation, right? We're speaking to both, and being in it is being aware of the pattern at the same time. And that's a different experience than being in it without knowing, right? Like if you're in it and you know that you're in it, that matters.
Yeah. And so this week, take a beat, name your warning sign, the one that's specific to you. Don't try to stop it. Don't try to outsmart the cycle, right? Just name the thing that shows up right before the landslide. Write it down somewhere. And the next time you see it, notice it again, right? So we're building pattern recognition here, which is huge for being able to make a shift.
Right. That's the rep. Then an embarrassingly small rep is going to be the thing that actually changes the thing. And you have to name it first in order to then know what that rep is.
Yes. So if this resonated, please share it with someone that you feel like it would be valuable for. Please, as always, rate and review the podcast. We really, really appreciate it. It's the best way to support us. And anything else for today, C?
Nope, that is all. The pit has a pattern, okay? We use the alliteration so something sticks with you here. Please be sure to like, share, subscribe. If you're in a ceiling or you're in a pit, this conversation is for you. And we'll see you in the next episode.
See you next time.
Bye.
When was the last time you felt truly clear and at peace?
Maybe you've been asking yourself, why can't I just feel peace?
Most of us don't just need another escape. Vacation is great and all, but what we really need is integration.
When's the last time you gave yourself permission to play? As adults, we don't do that enough. And this is to be messy, curious, maybe even a little wild, like the little girl you used to be. She's still here. She's just waiting for you to say it's safe to come out again.
That's why we created Peace, Play, Love. For 7 days in the Costa Rican jungle, luxury meets real life with story work, somatic practices, and nervous system tools that help you not just reset here, but take that peace home with you.
I've been bringing women to Costa Rica for years because this land and the people have been a part of my own healing journey. And all of us have left transformed for the better.
At Peace, Play, Love, we'll slow down together, we'll breathe, we'll meet the guilt, the shame, the exhaustion, and learn how to alchemize them into permission, into softness, into peace that you can actually feel in your body.
This retreat is deeper than a pause. We're not just unplugging you. We are rewiring you.
I've witnessed these women laugh from the depths of their souls, feel reconnected to who they truly are, tear up from actually taking in a sunset, and watching as their shame, their stress, and fears all float off into the great beyond.
You'll map your next season with clarity and leave with insight to keep your nervous system regulated and your choices aligned long after you return. We keep it small on purpose, just 9 women, each supported through high-touch coaching, sisterhood, and real community.
The women who come, they're do-it-allers. They show up no matter what. They climb the mountain with the weight of the world on their back and a smile on their face, because that's just what they do. but they're looking at this next chapter of their life and they know that they don't want it to feel like the last 5 did.
You don't have to hold it all anymore. You don't have to keep proving you're okay. This retreat is your safe place to land, and it's your invitation to play again.
There's something magical in this land that helps you find the magic in you. The light turns on, the weight lightens, and from there, you decide what the next chapter will be and who you will be inside of that on your terms. This is the magic of saying yes to you.
If you're craving calm and clarity that sticks, this is your invitation to join us in Costa Rica in June. Come exhale with us and remember who you are beneath the noise.